Shalom. This video is for the para-rabbi students on conducting a Jewish wedding. First, you should see my video jewu 46 on Jewish marriage, and my video on Jewish divorce, because it's something I'll explain in a second. And you'll need later my video jewu 309 on the Sheva Brachot, the 7 wedding benedictions. You'll need the Rabbi's Manual, and turn to page C40. Then C38, the C area is where we have the wedding stuff. Now, you first have to ascertain they're eligible to marry. In conservative and Orthodox, that means the mother has to be, of the bride and groom, have to be born Jewish, or they have to have converted. For Reform and Reconstructionists, some of them allow the father to be Jewish, and some will even perform an intermarriage. And then, in addition, you need them to sign an antenuptial agreement. They should, anyway, which is here on page C38 and C39, and have hopefully a rabbi take care of it. It says they both agree that if the marriage they're about to do ends civilly, they both agree to end it Jewishly, which solves an inequity in Jewish law you can learn about on my video on Jewish divorce. Okay, then you will have to have a ketubah, and they can either we can guide you to how to get a ketubah, or they can order one online, and they need their information of their name and their father's name in Hebrew. And there's different ways to fill it in, depending if they're a convert, a divorcee, a widow, or never married before. Okay, so let's say the big day comes, and of course you want to do some marital counseling. One great program is Prepare Enrich. And my wife Gail is a certified person to help people with Prepare Enrich. It's an online testing, basically. They both do, and then it's scored and goes back to somebody like Gail, who then can talk with the couple and it's supposed to be a tremendous successful way of helping couples deal with a lot of the issues that come up in marriage. We also have a marriage book that we'll be happy to share, that we give to all our couples. They're happy to share with our para-rabbi enrollees. Okay, now, first of all, why would a para-rabbi be able to do a wedding? Well, there are communities that simply don't have rabbis for hundreds of miles. And the Jewish community that's there authorizes a spiritual leader, and sometimes the states allow that person to conduct weddings, like I know of a case in Iowa where that was true. We have a student now in North Carolina who's going to be in rural North Carolina, for whom this will, I think, be true. Okay, so doing the wedding itself. Now, before the wedding, there are various things to do. You have to sign the county license and send it back, of course, after the wedding. You have to sign the ketubah. There's an El Malei Rachamim memorial prayer for deceased parents or grandparents, and I have a video on that, how to chant that. And then there's a Deccan prayer, which is also here in the program. Okay, C42 as part of it, and we have a longer one that's very nice that we'll send to our para-rabbi students. Now, the wedding itself, page C43. We say, Baruchim Habaim B'Shem Adonai. I'm not going to read the English, you can read that yourself. Mirachumchem, mi beit Adonai, mi adir al hakol, mi baruch al hakol, mi gadol al hakol, hu yivarech hechatan, v'hakala. A chatan or chasan is the groom, kala is the bride. And then there's some very nice readings you can pick from on C44 and C45. And then the Seder Erusin, with the first part of the wedding ceremony. The first bracha is Borei Pri Hagafen. You hold up the first cup of wine, there's 2 cups. In traditional weddings, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Borei Pri Hagafen. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Kitshanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Al Ha'arayot V'asar Lanu Et Harusot V'hitir Lanu Et Hanisuot Lanu Ayidei Chuppah V'Kiddushin. Baruch Ata Adonai Mekadesh Amo Yisrael Ayidei Chuppah V'Kiddushin. And then you have the groom drink. Now he's standing at your right, and you're facing the congregation, and the bride is to his right, your left. And then he gives it to her, and she drinks. Don't let him feed her, because he'll spill it on her dress. Also make sure it's white, grape juice, or wine, because you don't want to have red and ruin a nice white dress. Okay, then there's some nice readings there. You also want to speak to the couple, so you should interview them, find out a lot about them individually, together, how they met, why they fell in love, what their interests are, and then base it on something from about them, something about the Parsha, or the Haftorah, or a holiday coming up, There's also some wonderful general rabbi sort of midrashim that we use for weddings, like the 4 poles of the chuppah, which I'm happy to share with our para-rabbi students. Now, there's a part that's not legally part of the Jewish ceremony, but it's often done, and it's because you see it on TV all the time. So, basically asking them if they want to marry each other. So the way I say it is, do you so-and-so take so-and-so to be your lawfully wedded so-and-so? And I usually begin that by saying, standing in the presence of God and this holy congregation of your family and friends, do you so-and-so take so-and-so to be your lawfully wedded so-and-so? Do you promise to love, honor, and cherish? Okay, then we have the ring ceremony, which is actually the thing that marries them in Jewish law. The groom gives the ring to the bride, and he places it on her right-hand index finger. Now, obviously, it won't go all the way down, so it's just for that few moments so the witnesses can see, and says, and you should have a paper prepared in English transliteration with the Hebrew if you want, that you can give them, and then you have them repeat after you word for word, unless they're really good at Hebrew. Harei at mikudeshet li b'tabat zo kedat Moshe v'Yisrael. Now don't play around with that, because if you say that to a woman and you give her a ring who's not married and you're not married, in front of 2 kosher witnesses, you're married in Jewish law. Okay, so that's what you say, and then usually she'll say something like, you say that in English, I give you this ring as a sign of becoming your husband according to the law of Moses and the people of Israel, and then the bride says to the groom, I accept this ring, blah, blah, blah. And then she often gives him a ring and says, now the way I do it is egalitarian. Harei ata mikudash li b'tabad zo kedat Moshe v'Yisrael. Some rabbis don't think she legally has to do that, so they have her say something like, ani l'dodi v'dodi li, I'm to my beloved as my beloved is to me, which is actually what is here in the rabbi's manual. Okay. Now, before the priestly benediction, I then explain why we're going to break a glass. And there's a lot of explanations about it. The classic one is that even in our most joyous moments, we remember the sadness of the destruction of the temples. But for most modern Jews, that doesn't make any sense. So we add something like, of course, we know how fragile life can be, how fragile marriages can be, and the breaking of this fragile glass so easily reminds us of that. But also, you want to end on a positive note. At the same time, everybody knows that when you break a glass at the end of a wedding, you've created a new Jewish family. What a joyous thing that is. Now, I do it there instead of at the very end because I want the very end to be more dramatic, and so you pause there for a little explanation. Then you do the priestly benediction, and I have a separate tape for Parshat Naso, which has the priestly benediction, but I'll just say it again here. It's on page C49. Put your hands on their heads, and even if you're not a Kohen or a rabbi, any Jew can do this blessing. Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Never say it in English, it's listed here. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. So that is definitely, now that's at the very end. Page C49 has, that blessing is on C62, the priestly benediction. On C49, we have a Rastich Le'olam, a passage from Hosea, which is also very good to read. Okay, then we read the Ketubah. Now, I don't read the whole Ketubah because it's very long. In Aramaic, nobody understands it. I've only done it like twice out of the hundreds of weddings I've done. But definitely should be read in part, so I read the Hebrew names and dates. And the last line that says, Hakol Sharir V'Kayam, it's all been signed and sealed according to Jewish tradition. Now, the Seder Nisuin, the second part of the ceremony, is the Sheva Brachot. And again, you hold up the second cup of wine, and you can learn the Sheva Brachot on my video, jewu 309. And I explain there how I do it. And if you want people to participate, on C54 and 55, they have the translation of the Sheva Brachot, and so you can have people read one at a time. They also have alternative translations on the next few pages. Okay, then we get to the very end. This is where you would explain the glass that's broken. You would here do the priestly benediction on C62. And there's a little explanation here on C63 about things you could say. Okay, now here's how I end. I say, after we do the priestly benediction, since the two of you have joined voluntarily in this ceremony which binds you together in marriage, abiding by the authority vested in me by the state of blank, and acting in accordance with the laws of Moses and the people of Israel, you so-and-so and you so-and-so are now husband and wife. And then you put the glass down, the groom smashes it, they should kiss and then recess, and then they have to be by themselves for a few minutes. It's called yichud. indispensable part of Jewish law. And you explained it to them before by saying, you're going to be partying the rest of the time, so it's a nice moment to see each other and say hello, we're married, before you go into the party. And make sure, of course, you're eligible by your state to do this wedding. That's the key thing. Whatever they're in Illinois, for example, the state says if your religious group says that you're authorized to do weddings, you're authorized to do weddings. Other states have other rules. Okay, so that's the primer on Jewish weddings. We'd be glad to assist any of our para-rabbi students with more particulars. Make sure you get the Rabbi's Manual, and good luck.